going from one veteran to the next, to the next, to the next. Anthony Richardson obviously is the change, the turn for the Colts. And we don't know much about him. He had 2 touchdown drives against the Texans. And then after that, he didn't play much, if at all, the rest of the year. I think that might have been it for Anthony Richardson. That game, suffered a concussion, shoulder injury that aggravated itself. We don't know if Richardson's going to be good or not, but I think just going forward, comparing these two teams and the way that they approached this offseason is something that we're going to do. Because you cannot forget that the Colts, one, pantsed the Texans week 2. Shane Steichen embarrassed DeMeco Ryans. That offensive approach that the Colts had, not just with Anthony Richardson, a rookie, the first 2 drives, but what they had with Gardner Minshew when he came in, was something that the Texans never found an answer for. Early in the year, young team, new head coach, but same thing for the Indianapolis Colts, who were down to their backup quarterback, who was less talented, as we saw in the regular season finale, than C.J. Stroud, significantly. Less talented than most quarterbacks, I would say, with how inaccurate he was. And yet, the Colts almost won that last game Saturday night. And I wonder why Jonathan Taylor was off the field for that 4th and 1, where they throw it to the running back who drops the ball. Right. I mean, it's not even like it was Zach Moss. It was somebody else entirely. I forget his name that was out there and drops a 4th and 1 pass. Colts get that. Who knows what happens? Who knows if they end up driving down the field, scoring a touchdown, winning the game. But these two teams are a lot closer than I think a lot of Houston Texans fans wearing the battle red, deep steel blue glasses would like to admit. And the Texans went super aggressive. The Colts did not. I think if the Colts had a quarterback, and we don't know that Anthony Richardson is or isn't a quarterback yet, I think the Colts approach is generally the correct one to have.
I would say it is, but my biggest counter to that is that they are at a different place in their timeline.
How are they at a different place?
Because they've been trying to win and have success and bring in talent for years now. They just came up short. So, like, they brought in Matt Ryan. They brought in Phillip Rivers. They tried to win and add DeForest Buckner, and they drafted Michael
Who they
Pittman.
just resigned, and they signed him too.
But they flopped it out. You know, it flopped, right? They had to fire their coach, and they ended up in position to draft Anthony Richardson. So I think the core of their roster is in a different place than their quarterback.
I disagree. I think they're in the exact same spot right now, the Texans and the Colts.
Because the reason why, to me, they're different is that the Texans don't have anyone that they're ready to resign yet. Like, that's where I think that's why the approach is different. Because eventually, you're not going to see the Texans go out and sign free agents because they're going to have to pay Nico, Will Anderson, CJ, and Derek Stingley.
Well, they just let Jonathan Grenard go. I mean, they did let some of their guys walk this offseason. So it's not like they brought everybody back. They are just sticking true to the 2-year contract side of things. But on top of that, being super aggressive to get Daniil Hunter, to get to Nico Autry, to get Azeez Al-Shaair. The Colts, meanwhile, are running it back. Like, most of the moves that the Colts made this offseason were re-signings. You're right. They tried to make a couple of moves, but generally, I think that the teams that are patient and pragmatic in free agency are better off. They just have to get that quarterback. And we will see with Richardson, but I feel pretty good about the Colts with Richardson because of how good Shane Steichen was in year 1 as a coach.
Yeah, Anthony Richardson, he's tough because you go back to college, obviously, you know, being a Gators fan, like, it's a roller coaster with Anthony Richardson. He goes from looking like he's going to win the Heisman one week to being absolutely a disaster the next week. Really, the biggest problem is he played in 5 games last year. He finished 1 of them. If he can't stay healthy, then he has to change his style so dramatically. And that's where I lose any faith that he would be a good quarterback in the NFL, because I like pieces of his game, but he's electric running the ball. Like that, there's no denying. You put him in open space, it's probably him and Justin Fields are probably the 2 most athletic quarterbacks in the NFL. I would imagine he's going to be a better quarterback than Justin Fields, though. And with Shane Steichen as his offensive coordinator, it does, tend to be a very good thing for the Colts. I think it was, I'm trying to think who it was. I think it was Lamont who brought this up when I was on the Bees, that Shane Steichen has pretty consistently worked DeMeco Ryans in his career. Like, if you looked at, the Eagles and the 49ers when they would match up week 2 this season, he's had very good success. This is the rivalry or the two teams that I'm most focused in on, I don't put Jacksonville in this category.
No, I don't either.
Like I would be way more if you told me the Texans do not win the division this year, I am picking the Indianapolis Colts to be that team to win the division, not the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, I'm not either. I don't take Trevor Lawrence seriously. I don't know what to make of Anthony Richardson yet, though. I think Richardson's athleticism is something that should be definitely scary, but I also think the effortless way with which he can throw a football is something that's pretty interesting if he figures things out. There were a couple of moments, because I watched before the second game of the year, I remember watching Anthony Richardson's first game and really comparing him to Bryce Young and comparing C.J. Stroud to the two as well. And I thought Richardson did a lot of things in the wake of pretty difficult pressure that has to make you feel pretty good just about his ability to deliver the ball when he's under pressure. There are a couple of times where, I mean, you see him doing the things that he's doing with a guy actually on him, stepping through a defender, hitting him, and throwing a beautiful pass downfield. And Stroud is capable of doing that, but he's not going to stand tall in there. He's kind of going to let his, the momentum kind of carry him.
Mm-hmm.
Bryce Young can't do that at all. And I think this is going to be something with Richardson. He's going to be, I think, one of the more difficult quarterbacks to sack in the league. So if he can be a good passer, watch out for some Josh Allen kind of terrifying games.
Yeah, look what if Steichen can follow the trajectory with Anthony Richardson that he did with Jalen Hurts, probably in year 3 is when you really see that jump, because last year almost doesn't count for Richardson being hurt for 80% of the season. So it is going to be fascinating just to watch his development, because so many of these running quarterbacks struggle with staying healthy. And if he can just do that with the quarterback.
Off to a bad start, because I think they didn't even have him finish the week 1 game well.
I think it was one game he finished of the 5 that he played in, or one of the 4. He played all 4 quarters. But yeah, he got hurt versus the Vikings in week 1. And it's just like, that's
and it's flukish.
Tough.
At this point, over time, it could be more than that.
Yeah.
Having Joe Flacco as the backup over Gardner Minshew, is that an upgrade? Based off of the way Flacco played last year, it might be. Obviously, Flacco had some struggles against the Texans when he had the 2 interceptions back-to-back, but it felt like the game just died for Cleveland at that moment in time.
Yeah.
I think that Flacco can make more throws than Gardner Minshew can. I mean, Minshew was just missing passes against the Texans. And that game, I know we all look at it and say, yeah, the Texans won. It was great. That game was so close, and they probably should have lost it.
Yeah, I mean, your 2 biggest wins of the year last year are against backup quarterbacks. Like, if you're going to have doubt on the Houston
and
Texans. Burrow. Oh, yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, I was thinking more just towards the end of the season when the games really, really mattered. But right. Yes, you did. But you beat Joe Burrow when healthy.
Your playoff kind of game. That makes sense.
But then you have, you play the Colts with Gardner Minshew, and you barely beat them. You work the Cleveland Browns, but Joe Flacco was abysmal in the second half. The first half, he was moving the ball up and down the field at the beginning of the game like it was nobody's business. And then you got smoked by the Baltimore Ravens. Like, if you're going to look at the Houston Texans' view, 2023 season, in a negative light, that to me is what you look at, is that in their biggest games, yes, they beat Cincinnati, but what was Joe Burrow before that? He was hurt and awful. Like, he had really just started to turn around his season in that moment, and then when you had other success later in the season when it mattered most, you beat backup quarterbacks. Like, it's the it's not a red flag about the Texans past season, but it's your biggest question of if it was last year was a fluke, that might be why. And this year, what we've talked about, you play a much more challenging schedule in terms of the quarterbacks that you play. Would you expect both these teams to be playoff teams next year? The AFC is still really deep, but
one of these teams is winning the AFC South.
Yep.
That's all I got. Both teams making it. I think if you look at the AFC East, it does feel like the Bills and Dolphins are taking steps back. Kansas City is where they are already. Are the Chargers taking a step ahead with Jim Harbaugh? They don't have a lot of talent on that roster. I don't take the Raiders seriously. Broncos, same thing, quarterback situation there. So maybe because the AFC East and the AFC West as a whole aren't great, gives you a chance. Problem is the whole AFC North is capable of finishing the year over 500. And if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken, they did this past season.
They did, yeah. The Bengals finished in last place, so they have a last place schedule, finishing 9-8 last year. We know they're going to be better. Who knows with Cleveland? Their Deshaun Watson led that to me is the most complicated team in the NFL this year is the Cleveland Browns. The talent, what they did with Joe Flacco, it all screams like Super Bowl contender because Deshaun Watson's their quarterback. But Deshaun Watson's their quarterback, and I don't know who Deshaun Watson is.
I don't either.
I think I might be more confident of who Anthony Richardson is than Deshaun Watson.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and then what is the Russell Wilson Justin Fields experiment like in Pittsburgh? That's
Probably,
another one that I'm so curious.
I think that the Steelers are going to finally have a sub 500 year. But hey, I feel like we've been saying that for years. Somehow they don't do it every single time.
Stunning. Like that and it's almost bad for them as a franchise because they can't reset at the quarterback position because they're always just right in the middle, that they have to now go after guys like Russell Wilson and Justin Fields to address their quarterback needs. But all in all, this is going to be the most competitive part of this division, I think, going forward. And when the two times the Houston Texans and the Indianapolis Colts play, and I'm going to take a shot in the dark and say one of those will be a primetime game this year, it is going to be important.
What kind of primetime? Do you think it'll be a Saturday primetime game?
No, that one screams Thursday Night Football.
Yeah, that's a good call. We've seen Thursday Night Football.
Yeah.
We've seen a couple Thursday night Texans-Colts games.
Yeah. But like Anthony Richardson, CJ Stroud.
If Richardson's healthy, it'll
good
actually,
headline.
I think, be a more exciting game too. Because that Saturday game at the end of the year, it was sort of like these teams are cute, aren't they?
Yeah.
Look at the AFC South. Bless their hearts.
A little bit pat on the head. They're playing for a playoff spot. Look at them. I would like, though, I wish I had kept a running tally of how many times during the, almost 2 months of the show, how many different Texans games we've said, oh, yeah, that might be a primetime game.
Yeah, I think
We're probably up to 10. 10 different games have been that could be a primetime game.
I mean, honestly, almost every game they play could be. There's going to be an argument. Because even when you play the bad teams, it's still, in theory, as of next Friday, could be C.J. Stroud versus Jaden Daniels. Like, it could be C.J. Stroud versus Drake May when you play the Vikings.
I'm gonna go ahead and say the Commanders Texans probably gonna be at noon on Fox.
I mean, they're gonna play. Are they gonna play the top four? They're gonna play 4 rookie quarterbacks next year now. I think it is because they're gonna play the Bears. They're gonna play the Commanders, I believe. No, I don't think they play the Commanders. They play the Bears, the Patriots, and the Vikings. And all 3 of those teams could have a new
Patriots might trade back. So
that's true. They could.
We'll see.
I can't wait to see.
They might trade with the Vikings, actually.
I can't tell if Paul's gonna be upset if the Patriots.
He's not gonna be upset about it.
I won't care. I won't care until I see them on the field.
You
I hope they get a quarterback, but I'm beyond.
But you don't get like the new QB jitters. I know you've never had those before.
I've never had that before.
No.
I've never had. I mean, Mac Jones, when they drafted him, I was so underwhelmed. And I was like, this guy's in worse shape than me, and I'm 34. Or wait, how old was I then? 32, 31. Shut up. It wasn't that long ago.
It was in 2021.
Oh, I thought you said when you were 21.
No.
I was like, damn, it wasn't that long ago.
Hey, Mac Jones, that's Trevor Lawrence's backup, okay? Put some respect.
Hey, Jacksonville kid coming home.
Yeah.
Storyline.
He's like their Case Keenum.
Yeah. Storyline of the offseason. Remember when Tim Tebow and Trevor Lawrence were teammates? That was fun. That happened for an offseason. Rafael Stone and Eli Wolf, the assistant GM of the Houston Rockets, have been extended. What is your reaction? 713-780-3776. That's next on Gallant George on ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
Broadcasting live from the Veritex Community Bank Studios, it's Gallant and George.
On ESPN 97.5 and 92.5.
After 8 years, Forrest Whitley has been called up to the bigs. I just saw someone tweet this. It was a program from a game in Round Rock, and it said The Future, and it was a photo of Kyle Tucker, Yordan Alvarez, and Forrest Whitley in Round Rock Express jerseys. So I have no idea what year that was from.
2/3 true.
Yeah,
but,
2 for 3 isn't bad.
No,
maybe 3 for 3. We'll see how it goes.
And then the CEO of the Blue Crow Sports Group and the president of a couple soccer teams, Jeff Luno, just tweeted a long winding road, but yes, go Forrest, go. So Jeff Luno's excited that Forrest Whitley's coming up. Can he just come back?
I was trying to get Dell excited for Forrest Whitley, not even coming back, just or coming up to the majors. But I said, well, Jeff Luno has a pretty good track record of drafting guys, so this is maybe the last Jeff Luno draft pick to make his major league debut for the Astros.
Pour one out.
I bet you it's got to be.
It's almost impossible for it not to.
I'm like, who else would there be? Like when he got fired, his last draft
it's
was in
been 4
2019.
drafts. Yeah.
You said something a moment ago that makes me wonder.
Bring back Jeff
Luno. Is it possible? Is it even possible? This year, things have not gone so well. Is it Dana Brown's fault? Not necessarily. They got Jose Altuve locked up for life. You like that. The Josh Hader move feels like more of a Jim Crane move. Would Jeff Luno have said no to that? You wonder, would he have gone after some of the guys that they just let walk? Would they still be essentially raiding the Caribbean by offering the whatever $10,000 contract that Ronel Blanco got because the Astros scout happened to be at a Julio Rodriguez workout? Is it so impossible for Jeff Luno to come back? Is there something in the way of that? What is it?
I don't know. But he's the only person connected to the sign-stealing scandal that is not involved in baseball.
Is he blackballed?
He has to be. Now, part of this is because we've all been there, right? We've all met people in our life who are just like, everyone hates this person, and you don't, if they ruin their opportunity at something, you're not going to help them again. I think that's what this is with Jeff Luno, is that he was so disliked amongst general managers, scouts, within the organization, outside of the organization, other teams. Honestly, sometimes we're just bending them over the barrel in trades that, like, embarrassing them. Like, think back to the Bryce Harper trade that almost happened. Not a single player, once Chandler Rome reported on who was supposedly going to the Nationals, was a good prospect. Who did the Astros trade for, like, Garrett Cole and Greinke that really hurt you? Nobody. So I think people just didn't like Jeff Luno. Clearly no one from the Cardinals liked Jeff Luno. So between that and sign-stealing scandal, yes, I think he's just blackballed.
You had the Evan Drellick book, Winning Fixes Everything, How Baseball's Brightest Minds Created Sports' Biggest Mess. There's a lot of baseball media types that looked even more angrily at what the Houston Astros had done when they found out that, they're not just cheating, they treat the people that work here not so well, and continued with what happened or didn't happen with James Click. They offered him a 1-year extension after they win the World Series, and a lot of people were like, that's reprehensible that they would do that. You also, I think, have with the PBS documentary that came out, the same guy who wrote about the Astros in that Sports Illustrated article. What was it on? Was it on Apple TV? Said a lot of things that we knew already, but again, it didn't paint him in the most favorable light. He's the one guy that hasn't come back in, though. And, I mean, Carlos Beltran is associated with the Yankees organization, even if he isn't a player or a manager. He's part of the broadcast team. Alex Cora's back, and it seems like Alex Cora might not exactly be the easiest person to work with based off of some of the stories that we saw in that Evan Drellick book And I'm sure there's some stories in Boston that are going on right now where people would say the exact same thing. It is very strange that Luno, a guy who clearly was doing a lot right, a guy who's bilingual, he's from Mexico City originally, especially for all those teams that maybe want to copy, not the Astros necessarily stealing signs, but going into the Caribbean and finding all of these players. It is very strange.
So strange.
That not one team has tried to give some sort of Godfather offer to him.
Dude, even the fact that the Astros fired Jeff Luhnow and AJ Hinch, and then they operated their front office with James Click, with a bunch of people that worked for Jeff Luhnow. Like, part of it is definitely that people don't believe Jeff. Like, I really like Vanessa. I did not enjoy the interview that she did with Jeff, to be honest. I thought it was too puff piecey, and I just didn't think that he was honest with her. I don't believe that someone that is like this methodical about everything he did within the Houston Astros organization could have just zero idea that this team was cheating in the way they were. And I think most people are like me. They don't believe Jeff, that he is honestly
he's smart
this
enough
innocent.
where you're like, really, man?
Yeah, it's also like the operation wasn't exactly like the most efficient or the most like well thought out. It was literally stick a camera in center field, point it at the catcher,
Bang a trash can.
have a video feed
Yeah.
in the dugout tunnel, and have a trash can.
The devil's advocate argument, I guess, for Luna perhaps being blissfully unaware of something would be that the Cardinals had access to all of his scouting logs because he didn't change his password. So
Sure.
perhaps sometimes things, even for the smartest people out there, slip through the cracks.
But he never like walked down the dugout and was like, "Oh, what are all these cameras for? Where are all this video screen and this notebook decoding signs?" Huh.
Yeah, it's just it's hard. And like I get it, like Junior Bronco, like I get it. I don't know if you want to be a troll or whatever. You think because I'm a Cubs fan that I believe that Jeff Luhnow was blissfully unaware. If you want to live in a world in which you think that every single member of the Astros organization was aware of what's going on,
What if they're a Cardinal, Joe?
and that AJ Hinch was ripping off televisions and removing trash cans to try to stop this, and that Jeff Luhnow was unaware, I'm sorry, you're just an absolute idiot. Like, I can't help you. Like, you can be a troll all you want, but, like, you can just be a moron and just, like, that's fine. But I would love for Jeff Luhnow to actually be honest, but there's a reason why no one's hired him. And I would love the idea of the
He's a
Astros.
Cardinal.
Like, I would love the idea
all
of Jeff
said and
Luhnow
done.
coming back.
Oh! They need a new TV. Why? Oh, AJ Hinch destroyed it. Why? I don't know.
Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know when
Okay.
the MLB sent memos to Jeff Luhnow and the Astros saying, hey, look at these photos of George Springer.